advancing or retiring, grasping or letting go. People all have their own ways. Heaven and earth, let me be lazy. Profit and fame put others to work. Gulls sleep on piers with their backs to the sun. Swallows build nests above house beams. Misled by passion, distracted by things, they remain unaware of the master of emptiness. Whenever I hear that word emptiness, I think of my friend Fred LaMotte. Welcome to the Institute for Advanced Astonishment for about the fifth time or sixth time.
Wow, thank you. You know, that poem inspires me to want to kind of share one that I
Great.
just that I just wrote. So maybe I'll get you back. And hello, people out there, whoever you are. Welcome to this craziness. It's not my fault, it's his. So yeah. So maybe I'll read this crazy
Sure.
poem. It's my confession. And it maybe leads to some things that we can talk about today or tonight. My weakness is my strength, my emptiness, my treasure, my darkness, the seed of light. I find the path by wandering off trail. I learn dangerous secrets through the power of unknowing. Taking root in foolishness, I flee from people who call me a teacher. Whatever they ask me, I ask them, how long can you hold a snowflake in your hand? What is the flavor of silence? I am a mountain meadow moth, resting blue wings on a lupin, ruthlessly dissolving distinction between the kingdoms, flowers, insects, humans, angels, and demons, flowing through the borders in and out of each other. No one is allowed to be a stranger here in my kingdom of bewilderment. I confess, I threw away my passport, my birth certificate, my life coaching license. Now I walk barefoot at midnight, hearing stars whisper to the temple, take off your roof, drop your walls. When I grew thoroughly at home in confusion, I asked my guru, who are you? I mean, for real, who are you? His eyes were black holes thronging over, spilling trillions of worlds. Ever so softly, he answered, I am nobody. That is when I learned to bow, shattering mind on stone, shouting, nobody, nobody is my guru.
Beautiful. I love that.
That
So,
really happened.
you were saying a little earlier you want to dig into the darkness a little bit, bring a little, which sounds negative to some people.
Problem.
Yeah. That you're saying maybe a little too much light.
Yeah, and a lot of this goes back to that what I was just describing in that poem actually happened. And I won't talk about who my guru is or was, but there was all this talk, ashram talk,
Yeah.
buzzing around, oh, everybody thinks their guru is God, sort of the greatest. And some people were saying, oh, he's Krishna come again. And others said, no, no, he's Jesus. And others said, no, he's Adi Shankara, the first Shankara return. And I just thought that was so stupid because so I went to him and I got some time with him alone in his room. And one of the things I said, now listen, these people are talking like this, and I hear it, and I just don't buy it. So tell me, who are you really? And he looked at me really with those eyes that were black holes, just thronging with worlds. And he said, no, 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 I'm nobody. And he meant it. And I got it. And I felt, wow, really, this is a guru.
Yes.
He's nobody. Nobody is my guru. And that gave me so much freedom.
Yes.
And what I'm seeing now, particularly with the Earth changes that are going on and the comet coming around the sun, 3I X and comet, and all this talk about the changes and the ascension that we're going through, because people are basically scared of being here. So they want to ascend somewhere else, some better Earth. And so we're ascending into this new fifth dimensional crystalline bodies and all this talk that's coming. Again, where's it coming from? It's coming from higher beings. It's coming from these beings from the stars. Have you seen this? They're all over the place. They're channeling from
Yeah.
Arcturus and from the Pleiades and ascended masters and they're telling us all about how to ascend. And do you get the anxiety that's in that desire for ascension? It's like, I don't want to be here. I have to ascend somewhere else.
Yes.
And what are we trying to avoid? What is it that's making us uncomfortable? And when we want this higher light, what is the darkness? You know, this all became very real and poignant to me when recently I spoke with a man who I just met, a wonderful man, wonderful man. I mean, real masculine guy and an outdoorsman and everything, but so manly enough that he was willing to admit his sadness. And he didn't know where it was coming from. He said, I have all this sadness. And he talked about going to the hospital with his sadness. And I thought, geez, what does that, what's he mean, And then he talked about sitting in his car outside, just listening to the rain falling on the car. And it almost sounded, like a person in crisis. Um, and I realized that this was the sadness of a man. Now, women have a wound and it bleeds once a month, and they're very, very much in touch with their wound. Men also have a wound, but it's hidden. This, this wound in my chest is actually a portal to higher worlds, but you have to go into the wound to find them. It's in your body and it's in your darkness. And so I realized, particularly men who are always trying to be, upstanding and
Yeah.
strong and ascending, and oh, I want to be an ascended master. It's just the latest form of being macho when you think about it.
Yeah.
The sort of the new age form of being, a conquistador is becoming an ascended master, right? You're invulnerable, but we're actually carrying this deep grief, the sadness of men, and it's filled with all the things we've done to be men in the past or think we needed to do. It's filled, this grief is filled with the way we've enchained people, the way we've mastered people, the violence we've done, and the violence we've done to animals, to nature, and the things we've done to women. And even our attitudes towards women as we were growing up, we learned to look at women in a way that was actually abusive, violent, form of violence, to treat a woman as just this object I want to get. So men have all this grief and don't go into the darkness and deal with it. And they flee from it. And we wonder why we end up with the kind of people we get in the White House. We wonder why we end up with the head of the Department of War. You know, he's got these tattoos all over himself and he's like Mr. Macho. There's so much that we're denying. And so I say the way before you rise, why not descend? Why not sink? Why not fall back into your wound, into your darkness? And this is the time to do it because we just came through Samhain, you know, Halloween,
Yes.
Celtic New Year. And in India, it's the Feast of Diwali, the beginning of the dark season. And in Christianity, it's Advent, it's going back into the womb of Mary, preparing for the solstice. These next 2 months are going to be fraught with darkness. So let's regard that darkness as a beautiful womb, as a way to get deeply in touch with our source. Because everything that grows from darkness. It grows out of the soil, you know, it grows out of the womb. And I'll shut up in just a second. But this led me to think of the beautiful verse from the Gospel of John that said, "The light shined in the darkness." Speaking of the light of Christ, Christ consciousness, it said it shined in the darkness, and the darkness could not overcome it. Now, it doesn't say the light came down into the darkness. It doesn't say the darkness was the enemy and the light
Right.
fought with the darkness and they had a battle. No,
Right.
it said out of the darkness came this glow, right out of the heart, the depth of the wound came this light. And the darkness couldn't overcome the light because the light was coming out of the seed of darkness. They're really not two things. Darkness is not the absence of light. Darkness is a womb of light. Why are we so afraid to sink into our darkness?
While you were speaking, it makes me think of another word that you love. And last time you had the chalice of emptiness that you would drink from. And emptiness, and especially in America, gets a bad rap, you know, compared to the East. And maybe the same for darkness, right?
Mm.
It seems like a negative connotation.
Yeah, sunyata in Buddhism, the emptiness. And yet you talk to a Buddhist, I mean, a real Buddhist teacher, and the emptiness makes them light, makes
Yes.
them light, makes them free. You know, there's another line from the Christian scriptures that people should know this word, kenosis.
My favorite.
You know that word, yeah.
I
It said
met,
that,
just to give you a little tiny story, I was, you know, in where I am in Lake Atalan, people come from all over the world to wake up, and they come to this Mayan area, and there's so many teachings and yoga and medicine, and it's just constant. And I met this guy here, and he was amazing. You just meet these people all day long, you know, and I said, "What's your name?" After about 5 hours, you know, talking. And he said, "I don't give my name. If I see you again, you'll get my name." And luckily, like before, I had to use the bathroom. So I used the bathroom when I came back. I did see him again because it was 1 minute later. And he said, "Now I will give you my name. My name is Ken." kenosis? And so I said, my name is Sam Adi. And it was two of our favorite words, and we were just playing, but go on. What is kenosis?
Well, I'll just give you the quote where it said that Jesus did not become Christ by proclaiming himself,
Right.
but he emptied himself. And the
Yes.
word in Greek is kenosis, but it's a verb. It's not a
Yes.
thing like this, this place we go called emptiness.
Right.
It's this willing process of self-emptying,
Yes.
self-emptying. And so much of what we need to do is just stop being afraid of the dark, sink into it, and just let go of the stuff. Because our very ground is forgiveness. That's the
Yes.
secret. It just, that darkness forgives everything. It's so pure, it's so crystal clear.
No
And
judgment in darkness.
yeah,
No
yeah,
two.
the
Just,
thing.
yes, no thing.
Yeah,
Love that.
Leonardo da Vinci, who produced many beautiful things, he said of all in his journals, he said of all the wonderful things that you can discover in life, the most wonderful of all is nothing.
Yeah.
That was Leonardo. And
Yes.
he knew that his art, his inspiration, everything he did came out of that nothing, that
And
ground of nothing.
remember the words of Marguerite, is it Perret or Perit, Christian mystic? She said, um, I think she was pre-Meister Eckhart. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she was the
She's,
Beguine,
yeah,
the
the
Beguine.
beginning.
Yeah,
She said you have to hack and hew a place inside yourself big enough, like so clear it out. I love the imagery of the hacking and hewing a space large enough to let this let the light in or expose it, or you have to hack and hew a space.
wow.
And the
That's
Christian
beautiful.
mystics all had that, the dark and the light. It was the
Mm.
mystery is dark.
Yeah, but it's amazing how many people, that's the real, what do they call it when you bypass?
Yeah.
That's the real spiritual bypassing.
Yes.
And it's like thinking that enlightenment has nothing to do with your darkness, but it's the very jewel at the center of darkness.
Yes.
So we're descending into these. This is my favorite time of year, precisely because the sparkling light in the flowers and the fruits and in nature it starts to withdraw, and it turns within. The flowers disappear and the gourds become hollow and the garden looks all ruined. But have you ever noticed that as November, that's why I love Andrew Wyeth's paintings this time of year. Have you ever noticed that everything begins to take on a kind of a glow during this time, this
Yes.
season? An inner glow, because the light turns inward and the hollowness begins to grow. Things get hollow, and then the hollow starts to grow. And then you end up with the solstice
Yeah.
coming out of complete darkness, the darkest day of the year.
You reminded
Oh,
me of the old joke, but it's a good one of the old, I guess it's like a Zen joke where I'm looking for my keys out under the street lamp and you come by and you're like, "What are you doing, James?" And I say, "I'm looking for my house keys." And you get down and we're both rummaging through the bushes. And you say, "How did you lose them out here?" And I say, "I didn't lose them out here. I lost them in the house, but the light is better out here." So we go for the light because we don't want to go in, into that dark cave.
mm, yeah, yeah, and it's a shame because the media and Hollywood and everything is conspiring to sell us light, things that sparkle and glow, and we're getting kind of brainwashed to think that it's always out there. It's out there and the things that glow. But really, all that light, the Christmas lights and everything, were created to represent the inner glow of things,
Yeah.
this evergreen in the midst of winter. What makes you evergreen? What keeps you green? That great mystic who spoke of the greening, Hildegard of
Yeah.
Bingen, who said the spirit was the greening power. And
Beautiful.
that greening power comes, that we represent that so much in Christmas time and in holiday time and in the winter solstice
And
time.
that great picture of, is it Rublev of the Trinity and the green, right? That the three figures, but the one is all, I think the Christ is green. I'm not sure.
Wow. I know
There's
that famous
three.
icon.
One's green, Andrei Rublev's Trinity.
I got to look that up. That's beautiful.
It just blows your doors off when you look at it. It's just two. And it's the three figures. It's Christ, and they're pointing at, it's the Holy Spirit, Christ, and they're pointing at a cup. All three have fingers pointing at a cup, like a chalice of emptiness on the table. And then the beautiful thing is under at the front of the table, there's like this ripped little part. It looks like something was ripped off, and it looks like even tape or something there. And they say that that was a mirror, and they used to have a real mirror on it so that you were also part of the Trinity, but someone ripped the mirror off.
Yeah. And well, I'm glad that you can welcome that because it's a profound teaching about the Trinity, and it's also there in the deepest Vedic teaching of
Yes.
India, because being reflects itself and becomes self-conscious. So out of one, there's two,
Yeah.
right? Self-awareness. And then what flows between them, this astonishment, this
Yes. Yeah.
ananda, this bliss. So that's the Holy Spirit. So in the very nature of being is Trinity. And what we're doing here in the world, every time we, take a drink of juice or see a pretty flower or look at a beautiful face, it's a subject and an object and the
Yes.
bliss that flows between them. So everything we experience is a reflection of the inner physics of the Trinity,
Beautiful.
being, seeing itself in bliss.
That's
And
beautiful.
I love the Christian mysteries as much as I used to love only, the Eastern stuff.
Me too.
But it's become just such a wonderful trip to rediscover the meaning of our own cultural symbols when you're a Westerner. There's, we're not strangers to anything. So,
Yes.
we need to rediscover a deeper level of our own heritage,
I remember
whoever
when I
we are.
first, remember I was a big skeptic atheist before this all happened. And then I found you and your poetry, and that opened the door to the Sufis. And I remember when I first posted a Sufi, or I I don't know if I'd posted one of your poems yet, but I posted a Sufi and I alerted my friend RJ that you met, Richard, and I alerted him and said, be on alert because I'm about to, it's like coming out of the closet for an atheist. I'm about to post something about love and it's all one. And so be ready because all the atheists might jump in and attack me on Facebook. And no one did. And it was beautiful. And from the Sufis, I found Thomas Merton somehow. My mother loved Thomas Merton. So 5 Merton books were ordered. And then that opened the door to Hildegard and Marguerite Perret and all the Julian of Norwich and then Meister Eckhart really kicked the door in. And then someone that I posted that you came right in. It was like a bat signal to Fred LaMotte when I posted it. Was John of
Oh,
Rusbrook, and you came right in. You swept her because
great
he
book.
doesn't get and he's so beautiful on the Trinity and the Godhead and the
Yeah.
darkness and all of this. And Henry Suso.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they were all like part of that wonderful Rhineland school of
Yes.
mysticism. And it's interesting. I don't know if I told you this, but not to brag or anything, but I found it so interesting that this German guy, well, actually, he's Austrian.
Yeah, no, that
Uh,
published your book.
Otto
Yes.
just went to my blog and he my website. He got all these like whimsical poems that aren't even in my book, my other books. He teaches mindful. He's a mindfulness teacher, and he's very successful. He teaches mindfulness practice to businesses in
Oh,
Europe,
beautiful.
not just to like spiritual communities, but like
Yeah.
how to improve the community of the business. And all over the German speaking European world, he goes and he gives these. And he wanted a book of poems that were kind of some of them humorous and down to earth and crazy, and that
That
he
was
could
the
like
tavern book, right?
Tavern of Awakening, which
Yeah.
is one of the poems. And it's in German and English. On one side of the page is the English. Trouble is, the publisher was only given limited space in Amazon and
Right.
Barnes and Noble. So when you look it up, everything's German. Everything's in German. So, but that was the point, to do something
Yeah.
for that guy. So he uses it in teaching. But I found it so kind of wonderful and fulfilling because there he is in that Rhineland part of the world teaching
Yes.
mindfulness. He had a Zen training, of course, but there it is. That
And
Rhineland school.
then in comes Kant and Schopenhauer, Fichte, and that whole German idealism that comes years later and talking about the thing in itself and the noumenal and the phenomenal, and Schopenhauer ties Plato in with Kant and says that you can know the thing in itself by turning against the will, turn within, because the kernel is inside you. There's a kernel.
Oh, so I'm not. I'm too stupid to understand
You teach
Hegel
philosophy. You
and
teach.
Kant. So I never got to Schopenhauer because Kant was so amazing to me.
Yes.
Just one or two propositions that he taught, and the rest I felt like dropping the rest of the 1,000-page book, because I'd gotten everything I needed out of that one sentence, and I thought, no, this I can't do this. I can't read this stuff. So I
Yes.
really admire your ability to do that. My tendency is to write something shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yes. I'm feeling that, Fred. I'm feeling by next year, it's just poetry. You're right on. And
You
once
know,
you
the first
exhaust all that wordage and verbiage, it comes down to like Stonehouse says, just go. He says, I come in at night and I sweep a path for the moonlight. That's so
oh,
beautiful. And I
oh
just go to
yeah.
the lake and I count fish. You know?
Oh, who's Stonehouse? That's a
So this is he's a Chinese poet from I
oh
think the
Red Pine. Red
14th
Pine.
century. What's
Oh,
that?
so
Oh, Red
Red
Pine.
Pine.
Yeah, he
Oh, he's a
translated.
translator. Oh yes.
Yeah. There's a Chinese name. Let me see his name in Chinese is I don't know if I can say it.
Not Hanshan,
It's
is
here
it?
somewhere. Yeah, not Han Shan. This is 14th century, around the time of Meister Eckhart Dojin and Rumi.
Thank you. I have to look at that. Because I love Gary Snyder's
Yes.
translation of Hanshan. And there was this little, when I was growing up, this was the Tao that I got. This came off a little bookstore shelf, used. I was about 14 years old when I discovered Lao Tzu. And also another little book in that series of tiny little books. They're called Peter Pauper Press. I don't even know if they're still there, but there was this little book. It almost fell off the shelf into my hands. I was like 14, and it was a book of haiku. It was the greatest haiku of Busan and Shiki and Basho and
Ikyu?
Isa.
Was Ikyu in there?
Haiku, yes. Yes, thank you. And little book, but this just if anything ever kind of like awakened me or like
Yeah.
just, wow, just it was the haiku. And there was no I in them. They didn't talk about themselves and how they felt, and they didn't angst about
It
being in nothingness and go
was the
on for a
frog,
thousand pages. They
the
just
frog
brought you into
plopping
this.
into the water. Yeah.
They brought
I
you
didn't
into a single
understand that
moment.
until I was upstate at this amazing place, upstate New York in the Adirondacks. And I thought I was, who I was. So I said, as we were eating the soup, we're all eating together in this beautiful lodge in the mountains. And I said, "This is Shangri-La. This is Shang." And a German across the table who seemed very affluent and very cultured. He looked at me and he said, "No, this isn't this." He said, "This isn't Shangri-La." He said, "Go to," and he named this place that the Schwarzenegger's family used to own in the Catskills, down a little bit in the mountains. And he said, "Go there. That's Shangri-La." So of course I listened and I went there, and it was this little hotel, like 9 rooms, no, all on bottom floor, very small, with one little bar at the end, and there'll be a girl there to give you a drink or coffee. And that was the real Shangri-La for me.
It was so naked and simple.
Yes, there was a river in the back, and when you got to the creek or the river, you couldn't hear anything. And from there, I understood Basho for the first time because there was a frog pond, the whole pond. So Basho was still conceptual to me. I thought I understood it until I heard a chorus of frogs singing and plopping in the water, and I was quiet and I just let them do the sermon. It was the sermon of the frog, and that was that. So that was and my haiku education before that was just Kerouac's American haikus, but they were good for me, with the jazz behind it, and you know, yeah, did you listen to those? I'm sure you did.
Just recently I've been re-exploring and reading all these obscure Kerouac writings that I'd never read
Yes.
before. And you got to wade through a lot of.
Book of the Dawn. Some of the Dharma is loaded. The
Oh
big
yeah,
book, it's a big giant book of just his notes on Buddhism. That's loaded. You don't have to wade too much.
what's it
And then
called?
from there comes Dharma Bums and but out of these notebooks, it's like 8 notebooks called Some of the Dharma. And
Oh
they just
really?
released it on audio, which is nice. It's not Kerouac, but a guy trying to sound like him a little bit, and really good.
Well, speaking of Kerouac, there is a fairly new, a couple years ago now, I guess, a release of the unedited scroll. He wrote it on a scroll of On the Road, the
Yes.
original unedited scroll. And if you get the audio, because you have to hear Kerouac,
Yes.
and it's not like to be read on paper. And it is, I can't remember the guy's name. He was in the Sopranos. He was Tony Soprano's cousin, and he reads the whole thing, and it is absolutely
Really good.
remarkable.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is remarkable. It's like listening to endless Charlie Parker
Oh,
improvisation. It's just pure word bop.
just
And
stream. Yeah,
yeah,
stream. Just
and,
roll.
so there are these jewels in
Then
Kerouac.
but someone told me they met Ginsberg after what I'm about to tell you, and he didn't like this, but I have him reading Dharma Bums, Ginsberg. instead of like Ethan Hawke and other writers, but it's Ginsberg, but Ginsberg isn't proud of it. But I think it's really good. It's really good. It's as close as you're going to get to Kerouac, and it's Ginsberg reading it. So,
Well,
and I got to meet him once. I don't know if you know.
who,
And
Ginsberg?
my brother, when I studied with the amazing Randy, I was on the materialist end, and my brother studied with Allen Ginsberg at Brooklyn College. So, and he's a poet, but very dark poet at the time. And Allen Ginsberg was his advisor and his teacher. And so he had a Christmas party. And my brother invited me and another friend who was a guitarist. We were only maybe 21, 22 years old. We went to Ginsberg's apartment in Brooklyn. He had the old bathroom where you pull the chain and then the toilet flush across the room, and very old. And he opened the door, I'll never forget, in a suit. And it's a Christmas party. And I had a giant beer, the biggest you could carry, like a 64 ounce in a bag. And he said, "Oh, no, no alcohol." And I said, "But you're LSD taking, magic mushroom ingesting, finger cymbal playing Allen Ginsberg. How can I not have?" And he made me promise to not get any more, just the one beer. And I came in with the beer. And at the end, I did a little magic for him because I was a magician, and he loved it. And then he said, "Do you meditate?" And for me, I couldn't understand. And I said, "No." I said, "My magic, moving, cutting the cards really fast, I can get lost in it. And it's like a meditation." And he looked right in my eyes and he said, "You will meditate." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You will meditate," and smiled big. And years later, that was it.
He was amazing. He was in the background of many of those lives, and he held them
Yes.
all together. I liked who he was more than what he wrote.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, and after I discovered the Beatnik poets, the same time that I discovered the haiku, Ferlinghetti's Coney Island of the
Yes.
Mind, and that amazing guy, the Happy Birthday of Death, that Gregory Corso.
Gregory Corso blew my doors on.
I loved him.
When he
And
threw,
Jack
I don't know if you remember him throwing one night in a poem, he just throws everything out the window. So he threw the table out, he threw it, but then he threw beauty out, and he threw everything, but beauty, he threw everything out, but reason, but beauty, he ran down the stairs and caught her, which was so beautiful, and put her on the sidewalk and gave her a little pat and said goodbye. And when he came back in, death was still cowering under the kitchen sink, and he threw death out.
Well, I love those guys, and I said, well, then of course Allen Ginsberg, I've got to have him. So I went out and I got Howl. Remember, I was 14, and like I
That's not
read,
good for 14.
oh my God, it was like this is dark,
Too
man. And
naked.
but I understand now the Jewishness of it too, and his
Yeah.
willingness to go
Kaddish.
into the Kaddish, yeah. But cycling back to what the darkness of men that we began with, Allen Ginsberg could handle all that. He knew about all that
Yes.
through his suffering and
Yes.
resurrection of being back in the time when being gay was like a hard trip. But he
Yeah.
also had studied Tibetan Buddhism and the Book of the Dead. But the other guys, like Kerouac, they had a hard time
Yes.
with tenderness,
Yes.
intimacy, trying really hard to be masculine. I mean, he was very. Do you know that his favorite spiritual figure was the infant Jesus? Going
Yes.
back to his Catholic background and Mary and of course his own mother, he was a very sensitive, almost mama's boy, but couldn't deal with it and
Definitely a mama's boy.
had to go out and be, the macho guy that everybody thought he was. He carried such sadness. And
Yes.
of course, it drove him to that drink. I mean, really, if you ever read his book, Big Sur,
Oh,
oh
I
my
can't
God.
read it. I read it and I appreciate it. I read it the one, and it upset me so much
Oh my God,
when he
it's the
chased
pain.
the mouse around and killing the mouse and all the alcohol and the tremors and
He was hallucinating that he
yeah.
was being
And then
attacked by.
seeing him at the very end on I don't know if you watched him on the Buckley show, like 2 weeks or 2 months before he died, and he was a mess,
Yeah,
just a
I've seen
bloated
that.
mess.
Hmm.
And you're
And
saying it's because he was suppressing all that to be a man, maybe
darkness
a little bit.
and confusion about what it meant to be a man.
Yes.
And yet, with a jug of wine in one hand and maybe a poem by wonderful, his spiritual light was Gary Snyder,
Yes.
who kept him
Jaffe.
alive, connected to Buddha. To me, that's what Dharma Bums is about, the attempt of the American to try to be a good
Yes.
Buddhist.
Yes.
You're actually not dealing with all your stuff. It's so poignant.
Did
You
you ever
have to
hear
be,
the Ben Hecht interview with him when Dharma Bums comes out?
no.
It's on YouTube. It's a Ben Hecht. Do you know him?
Oh,
I'm sure you know.
no, I've
He's like a
heard the
tough
name.
man. Ben Hecht is the manly man that you talk, everything's pressed down and he's very, very tough man. He hasn't had a feeling for many years. And he interviews Jack Kerouac, who's trying to be very loose with him. And he keeps calling the Dharma bums the drama bums as a joke, the drama bums. And he says, the government's going to come after you. And he says, the government will come after the Buddha. And the way Kerouac answers, you can't touch the Buddha. You can't. He said, and he brings up the devil, and he said, Kerouac says, the devil's already been defeated, and we're all in heaven. Everything goes to heaven. He goes, even the microphone. It's so beautiful the battle between what you're saying. This Kerouac's trying to stand up for it, but it's a beautiful battle. Ben Hecht versus Jack Kerouac, right when
Well,
the Dharma Bums comes out.
well, because I love the Dharma Bums, and there's very profound Buddhist compassion in that book when they go
Yes,
up and he shows him his favorite, the way he prays for President Eisenhower, Buddha,
yes,
and
yes,
this person's a Buddha, and all. And you go through the rosary beads of all the people you hate.
yes, yes,
Maybe it's Donald Trump, or maybe he's a Buddha, and he acknowledges everyone as a Buddha, and he keeps bringing me back to it. Is he really maybe touching those realms of enlightenment, even though he's a drunk and he's a mess?
yes.
I think he is because he had such a heart.
You
I'm
read
not,
Golden Eternity, the little tiny book? That
yeah,
says it all.
yeah.
And
But
in
he's
that
not just,
interview, I think Heck talks about Eisenhower in a very negative way. And Kerouac says, he's a nice man. And he goes, you think he's a nice man? And he's very tough, Bennett. You think he's nice? And Kerouac says, well, he's the kind of guy I'd like to shake his hand. And he really softens Ben Hecht up. You're going to love this. Like this battle that you're talking about is right there played out. And he says, they're coming for your friends. They're coming for the beats. The government's going to come after you. And the way Kerouac just keeps lightening everything up, disarming Ben Hecht.
well, and that they are part of a they were slightly persecuted, but nowhere near as much as the jazz musicians that their music, their poetry emulated. There are wonderful connections with Charlie Parker, and
Yes.
some of my favorite people in the universe were these jazz musicians, like well, I'm a tenor sax player, so Gene Ammons. Uh,
Yes.
oh, what a sound! These guys couldn't get their musician's license because they had been busted for shock of shocks, marijuana,
Right. Right.
which at the time you got sent to jail for. And they were pretty innocent people, actually. And in fact, they all wore suits and everything when they played. There were these
Yeah. Yeah.
we would think, oh gosh, who were those businessmen? No, they were these great jazz musicians, and uh, they lived as this persecuted group just because they smoked marijuana and
So
they were
silly.
black. Many of them, several of them, went to Europe, became like stars in Europe. Dexter Gordon, oh my God, he's a genius. But these guys were kind of parallel to the Beats, and they weren't really hippies. They were different than that. They were coming up out of the street and
Yeah,
out of the toughness of their backgrounds, and they carried a lot with them of sentimental stuff that they made sacred, like the gospel church music that found its way into jazz.
yes.
You know, when Gene Ammons, beautiful tenor sax music, he got sent to jail for like 5 years just for having marijuana.
But yeah.
When he got out of jail, you can still get this or look this up. He made the first album he made when he came back was called Preaching. And
Ah,
all it is, drums, bass, piano, and his sax. And he's just playing the great gospel tunes.
yes, yes.
He doesn't even improvise on them. He just plays these beautiful melodies with his incredible tune and with incredible tone. And shows you what a heart these people had,
Yeah.
even though they were,
Coltrane up in the attic when he had that awakening up in the attic and he
Coltrane.
wanted to quit, but he came back with and I think Love Supreme or something came out of that.
Yeah. And the last part of Love Supreme is called Psalm, and you can see it where they discovered the words written, and he was actually had a prayer, and every note that he plays was a prayer,
Incredible.
was a word in his prayer. So somewhere there's a fusion of our love of what's new age with very tender old stuff. And we have to forgive ourselves for our heritage. We have to forgive ourselves for being men. And we have to forgive ourselves for growing up, in a Christian culture. There's beauty in everything. And there's depravity in everything. There are very depraved Buddhist monasteries where they abuse people. And there's dark, well, I won't say dark, but there's abusive stuff in every tradition, in every political party, but there's also a path of awakening there. There's a thread, a sutra that we can follow. And I just think people should try more to follow that little sutra, that positive energy. Because the
Yes.
positive energy is what your heart wants, what nourishes your heart.
I see a poem's coming.
How do you know that?
I see the light.
Ah, see the light. Okay.
Your face just lit up.
Okay. This is short. This is,
Are these, by the way, anything brand new or they could
yeah,
be
these are new. These are
these are
new.
brand new,
In
maybe
fact,
for a
I'm
future
looking.
book?
I wanna have a book of real simple poems, poems that I don't screw up by rewriting them too much. And I'm looking for a publisher now. I haven't really started, but I've published 5 books with St. Julian Press. But
Yes.
the guy who runs that has had some medical problems,
Ah,
and he's already done 5 books. I mean, I just feel
yeah.
like I find it, and he wants to do his own. He's working on his own writings now, and he's been wonderful at mastering that press. But anyway, these are
Is
new
there a
poems.
non-duality press? I don't know if it's still
The
out there.
what?
I think there's a press, non-duality press that publishes, they would love you
Huh.
if they're still
Well,
out there.
I'll have to look for that. This is called
I-
Work.
Work?
Go ahead.
Did you say work?
Yeah, I was going to read a little poem called
Sure,
Work.
sure. No.
This is the work of the Sabbath. By the way, Sabbath, doesn't mean Sunday. It doesn't mean seventh day in Hebrew. You know what Sabbath means?
What does
It
it
means
mean?
stop.
Oh,
Shabbat.
That's my
And
favorite
stop.
word. Just stop it.
Just even if you practice Sabbath for a few moments or for the duration of a breath,
I had no idea.
that's what Sabbath means. And that's why it says don't do any work on the Sabbath.
It's great. Now it makes sense.
Yeah. So this is the work of the Sabbath. All creatures flower out of themselves. A rose, spiraling star pollen in a meadow of midnight sky. A blue-green egg floating in the nest of the twig weaver. And our little planet eddied in its swirl of distances. Your work is flowering too, bursting from the loam of the effortless, the ground of forgiving. A prophet does not see into the future. A prophet sees deeply into the present moment. From now on, friend, each stranger you meet is you. Bathe everything, bathe everything in the light that pours through your heart window.
Perfect. I love bathe. Bathe triggered in me. I don't know if you read Michael Pollan's big book about changing your mind, and he was talking about plant medicine. And he wrote all these other books about building houses and making a farm, and then he discovered plant medicine, and he talked about a study, I think at John Hopkins, and this atheist lady took psilocybin in this beautiful setting in John Hopkins where they made it like a Zen lounge, and she was a rabid atheist. I think her name was Dina, and she took psilocybin, and her words when she came out was, "I'm an atheist." And I can't believe what I'm about to say, but I was just bathed in God. Whatever that means, she said, I took a bath in God and I'm an atheist. And you just nailed it with that one. Bathe.
Yeah. But what this poem also says is bathe in the light that flows from your heart window. So the light is not coming to you to bathe in.
Yes.
Light that you're bathing the world in is the light that's pouring out of your heart window. That's the work. That's what I mean when I say that thread of positive energy. Instead of complaining about all the stuff in the world that you can complain about because there's no end to it, bathe everything in the light
Sabbath.
that flows through your heart window. Yeah.
But Sabbath is the key that it's like that old jazz song, Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. Like, stop and find a quiet room somewhere, or go to the garden or to the lake, or go somewhere and shut the door. And what's your recommendation there? Read a few poems, or do a mantra, or listen to a
Well,
little soft music.
everybody has to find their own path and their own way, but everyone should know that there is a way for you. And by a way, I mean a practice of non doing that will take you to that light. It has to do with the heart. And I'll tell you, as I said in the beginning, I won't go into it too deeply, but you were given, I mean, you, all of us, were given three talismans. Remember how Joseph Campbell said the hero meets somebody who gives them these sacred talismans for their
Yeah,
journey? They're magic talismans that will help you get through anything, like the lightsaber,
yes, yeah,
or the shield of protection, or the shoes of invisibility, or
right.
even the red
The
slippers of.
ruby slippers.
um, so you were given these three talismans in the birth canal.
Wait, go slow. In the birth canal, we were
In the
given
birth
three.
canal, just before you came out.
Okay, go really
You
slow now. This,
you forget that your guru, your guide, your teacher, your Merlin, your Obi-Wan was there
yes,
and gave you three sacred talismans for your journey. And you held them so close that after you learned to put on clothes and everything, you forgot that they were there.
yes,
You're
yes.
holding them and you don't use them. If somebody tells you these three talismans, you say, what are those? That's nothing. You throw it away. No, they're sacred.
That's why Frank Baum wrote and made Glinda say, "You've had the power all along. You just weren't aware of it because it's so close." All right, what's number one? Not in order.
The first talisman is this breath. In fact, that was the first thing you used. Didn't even realize what secrets are in that
Yes.
breath. What I've discovered after all these years, don't try to understand this. I won't explain it. The breath you are given is actually the divine mother, goddess, Shakti, the one who played with God at the creation of the world, the playmate of God.
Yes.
She who spun the stars, world, the stars, she who creates everything. She enters your body in the form of this breath. What an amazing honor to experience the essence of your breath. You will experience the Shakti, the power of God in your breath. Then comes the second talisman. This moment,
Yes.
always you have it with you. I'm not talking about the forms in this moment. I'm not talking about whether you're in a castle or sitting in a mud puddle. I'm talking about the boundless space of the moment itself. And we keep fleeing from it. We think the answer's in the past, the future. You could come back, and this moment gives you power. Just like this breath gives you unbelievable power. So the third talisman follows from the first two, the heart, literally sinking from the mind to the
Yes.
heart. That is the beginning and the end of all spiritual practice. And when these three talismans are present in the heart, the breath, in the present moment, your heart becomes a fountain of bliss, a fountain of love, fountain of forgiveness.
Beautiful.
So, any path that you study, whether it's Eastern or Western or some esoteric thing, and it's going to have lots of Sanskrit words attached to these things, right? It's going to have all kinds of different levels
Big
of this,
voice.
levels, yeah, but it'll all come back to the breath, present moment, and the heart center.
So true.
So that's
Beautiful.
all I'll say about that now.
Yes. I'm thinking when you said that and you mentioned Obi-Wan in the newer Star Wars near the end, there's a scene where Rey, the girl, is fighting Kylo Ren or somebody, she's fighting somebody, and he's about to really take her out with the lightsaber. And she does exactly what she takes a breath. She shuts her eye right at the moment where it looks so bad, it's over. She shuts her eyes, and it's a woman, like she shuts her eyes, she takes the breath, and then she and goes into the heart and slowly opens the eyes. And now she's a total warrior, and it's the end of him. Yeah.
Which Star Wars is that? One of the
I
later
think
ones.
number 9, like the lat near the, she's the one, the rise of Skywalker or whatever, like Ray Skywalker.
Ray.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
She
you. I'll
was
have
like
to look.
that was great in the story. She just collects scraps. She's like a yard sailor. You know, she just grabs scraps and she's very scrappy, and then she winds up getting the new R2D2 like BB-8, and then R2D2 shows up, and then it all starts to happen, and they realize that Luke Skywalker is alive and it's all real and it's all true.
This is the very last one, you think?
I think number nine, yeah. It might be seven or nine. I like those. A lot of people didn't like them, but I really
Hmm.
like them. It's all there, the same thing. You didn't see number nine?
I'm not sure. I'm not
Number
sure. I
nine
might
is
even.
so good because Luke has to face the worst guy, the guy who's going to kill. It's over, and the guy facing him has an army, and Luke is all alone like a monk with the hood. And the guy says, the bad guy, like three things, like anger at Luke, and Luke says, "That's amazing. Everything you said was wrong." And he dismantles all three things the way you gave the talisman, and then he fights him, and you realize Luke is just meditating on a rock far away, and that's an apparition. So when the guy tries to take him out, there's nothing there, and that was a distraction to free everyone from the army. They all got out the back door while this fake ghost distracted. It's genius to me. Genius.
Well, thank you for that. I remember now that somewhere along the line of those final series, I was so tired of seeing them all being instantly turned into stuff to buy your kids for Christmas, little figures and stuff. I
Right.
said, well, maybe that's all they're doing here. And so I didn't honor the movies enough because I thought, no, I'm not interested in all this stuff they're trying to sell.
Yeah, yeah.
So behind all that, there's this thread of truth. So
Yeah, it's
thank
always
you.
there. Yeah.
Oh,
And it got
it's
political, and then people politicized it the way COVID got politicized, and it became a battle between somehow Star Wars was the left and the right, and they gave it bad reviews and it on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's
yeah,
still
I'm
there.
afraid I was influenced by all that because the first three were so
Yeah,
sacred to
yeah.
me, they were so wondrous to me. And Joseph Campbell talking about them and all was
Yes.
amazing.
He was the
Uh,
wind beneath the wings of that whole enterprise.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
Hmm. Rediscovering ancient stories, and now Star Wars is an ancient story. I've
Yes.
just decided I'm going to rediscover Tolkien because another one who was just
Yes.
overdone, and yet I'm very interested in language and the history of language and poetry. And Tolkien, wonderful as the movies were, Tolkien is all about language. He's a linguist, and his language and his names for things and the power of names, so powerful and beautiful. Those books. So I'm really looking forward to going back and reading Tolkien again from
Yeah,
a
he
poem.
consciously wrote it with that language, right? It was like an older, more archaic kind of
Yeah,
English.
yeah. He's very, very the same way Milton in
Yeah.
Paradise Lost um, was conscious of the Latin and Greek syllables in his words and the way that the words had evolved from Latin and Greek. He was very conscious of all of that
Yes.
and somehow didn't over intellectualize too much and let it ruin his poems.
And
That
that
line.
somehow became, it seems like I could be wrong, you know better, but Paradise Lost almost merged with the Bible in the pop culture version of what happened in the Garden of Eden and like I think he seeped into that canon of the Bible, and that because I don't think the serpent talks in the Bible, but I think in Milton it does, right? And then it goes into Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The monster reads Milton, to understand why did my father leave me? I was created and abandoned.
Mhm. Incidentally, there's a new version of
Yes,
Frankenstein that just came out by the great Guillermo del Toro,
yes.
guy who made The
Pinocchio.
Shape of Water
Yes.
and Pan's Labyrinth. It's pretty amazing.
Someone
It's
told me to watch that. I'm going to. It's on
visually,
my
it's
list.
it's a masterpiece visually, and I love the ending
Yeah.
because there's I'm not gonna say how it's different, but it has to do very much with what I was talking about forgiveness and finding that the power of the darkness
There's
that
something about cinema where they, like even Quentin Tarantino, changes endings to history in his movies. And I don't know if you like in the one with Charles Manson, he makes Sharon Tate live and he rewrites it. Or in the Nazi one, he has the Jews beat up the Nazis, and they're feared. There's a secret Jewish cult that comes and takes out the Nazis. So I like that idea of imagination rewriting, even though it's cinema, but rewriting the history a little bit. And at the end, you hear Sharon Tate, you just hear her voice, and she's alive, and it's so beautiful, very touching to rewrite it, reimagine it.
revision, revision, and
Yes,
that's what we have to do with the earth.
yes, yes,
Revision. That's when the book of Revelation says there will be a new heaven and a new earth.
yes.
It's like we've all expected that, oh, this means it's going to come down out of the sky or someone's going to give it to us or we're going to wake up one morning and we'll
Right.
be ascended into it. No, it's our work to revision it and pour it out through the heart.
Well, can I ask you, you've been in this game for a while since you're 14, where I was like in the materialism for so long. Do you see the world of the 70s or the 80s or the 90s compared to now? Do you see um, a pattern, and do you see something maybe changing and getting better? Or are you optimistic? Or are you, how do you see it?
Well, I think I said that line in the poem. A prophet is not one who sees into the future, but one who sees more deeply into the present moment.
Yes.
But I think more people are doing that, are being driven to do that, to go inward. I think what's the stress of these times is bringing a crisis of vision.
Yes.
And more people are turning their vision to the heart. They're finding that our sovereignty, does not lie in governments or
Yes.
corporations
Not
or
in the party.
gurus. Our
Yeah.
sovereignty is within. Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you.
Yes.
So more and more people in this time of crisis are rediscovering their sovereignty. And I do believe that a totally new vision of the world will become the world, will incarnate through our hearts, through our vision, into matter. Matter will be formed. All the angels and the elemental spirits and the laws of physics, they will respond to our heart energy and create a new earth right out of this one. And
Yes.
and so in that sense, it's not a higher vibration, but it's alchemy. It's the
Yeah.
transformation of our vibration that becomes a new form of matter. In the Bible, it's called glory, kavod in Hebrew. And, or doxa, when in Greek, when the three disciples went up to the mountain with Jesus and they saw him in glory, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is the real you. And he was surrounded with all this light and everything. That was his body. They
Yes. Yeah.
didn't go to another plane. They saw him as he really was in this world, but most people can't endure it. He was in this body of glory. So I think there's going to be a new substance called glory. It won't be matter and it won't be spirit.
Yes.
It will be both. It will be something more fluid, more
Yes.
dreamlike, and yet
Chorus.
wholly
Yeah,
material.
dreamlike. I
Wholly
love that.
material. I mean,
Love
it'll be really this world. And you know what? Now you talk about me being crazy. All right. I
it.
believe this. There will come a time when we will not have governments. We will not have governments. The problems of the world will be handled by people in their intuitive personal relationships before the problems get big and reach the community or national level. People will solve problems through relationships because
Beautiful.
that's where it all comes from. And we'll look back and you'll hear about governments and
Right.
politicians
Be
and you'll think,
archaic.
gosh, that was weird. They needed that.
I love that.
So that's a crazy
Think
idea.
well, it takes hitting a threshold of enough awakening, like 30%, 35%, something, where it just starts to ripple and it's physics. The whole I'm realizing more and more that everything is physics, even
That
everything we
quantum
talked about.
threshold,
Yeah, quantum threshold. Even
but
your
right
three
before,
talisman, that's all physics. Everything is physics. The
and in a quantum leap, right before it settles into a new harmony, there's a tremendous amount of chaos in the system that's
right now.
bubbling over, and then
Yes.
so yeah, I think that could very well happen to us, and we could even see the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. I
When
had
was the last time your team made it? Did they ever?
2012.
2012, and they lost?
Oh, they won in 2012 and they lost in 2013.
Okay, but you have a Super Bowl under your belt.
I just love the Seahawks. It was a very mystical experience when my daughter took me to a game. I thought, oh, I'm never going to like this is like from my olden days.
Yeah.
And I walked into that stadium. It was a primordial rainy day and it was cold in the wind. And I heard this chant. It was like Om. It was like a shamanic Om. Thousands of people. Guys like Richard Sherman, and Marshawn Lynch ran out in the field. And I thought, oh my God, this is the primordial shamanic ritual of our time. And then they went on, to be this Legion of Boom. And I love them. I love
You
the
know who
Seahawks.
wrote the book, and I don't know if you've read it, but it's one of my favorite books. I'm rereading it again right now. And he's a real maniac of a person and a writer, but he wrote a book about that exact feeling you're talking about. Frederick Exley, A Fan's Notes. Did you ever read?
Oh,
If you
huh.
haven't, just get it tonight. It's one of
Yeah,
the greatest
cool.
books ever written. It's called by Frederick Exley. He was an
Man,
alcoholic maniac, but a writer, and he wrote this book that won all the book awards, and
wow.
he loved the ritual of the Sunday and the light that would come in on a Sunday, and he would get the newspapers and throw all the politics across on the other part of the diner, and he would read and build his way through the arts and through the
Mhm.
entertainment to the sports and look for something about his Giants winning that day. And then he would go to the bar, and it was this beautiful, and it was Frank Gifford. It was all about Frank Gifford for him,
Mhm.
and he made it into like ecstatic what you're talking about. That I had it
Mhm.
with Michael Jordan, same thing.
Yeah. Wow.
It wasn't
Yeah.
Michael Jordan out there; it was God disguised as Michael Jordan, like Larry Bird
Yeah.
says.
See, I mean, this is, you got to bring that jug of wine with you.
Yeah.
The sutras, for me, the jug of wine is football and the sutras in one hand and the football in the other. And I know I'm whole. I know I'm whole.
Yes.
So, well, I think that the people anybody who's been brave enough to follow us this far in this probably needs Sabbath right now. They probably need to rest.
Should we do one last poem from you?
Oh,
I'll
well,
read. I'll read a quick
Okay.
Stonehouse while you're looking.
All right.
This is the one I was telling you. It's only 4 lines. I
Oh,
sit and
wow.
meditate in the quiet and the dark, where Sabbath. I just said where Sabbath, where nothing comes to mind. I sweep in front. When the west wind is done, I make a path for the moonlight. I love that.
Oh, make a path for
To
the
sweep a
moonlight.
path for the moonlight. It's just
Oh, okay. Thank you. This one is called Start. It's not
start.
very long. So we'll
So you
end
did
with
stop and start.
Start.
That's great.
Start with something small, like breathing in the stars, holding trillions of them in your chest to light up every atom in your body. Then breathe out, giving each a new name and a deeper darkness, more space to polish with the beauty of fire. Let this exhalation caress the lake, the forest, the city, touching every heart, the heart of fur and feather, as well as the human heart. Then move on to larger tasks, like listening to a stranger at the coffee shop, or smiling at a serious baby who rides backward in a grocery cart. Then get down to the greatest work of all, healing the earth with your naked toes.
Right in it. I love that. Fred, you said that you were going to give me a miracle today. And then you followed that up with the miracle be that just showing up, and you did, and thank you. Hopefully let's have an amazing, astonishing, bewildering end of 25, and I'll see you in 26. We'll see if your predictions came true.
Well, we'll see. That's a
Go
pretty
Seattle.
short. Hey, man, it's such a pleasure to have made friends with you.
It's amazing,
Thank you.
astonishing, bewildering.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.